Hi, it's Leah from Invoke Spirit here, and today I wanted to talk about something I've created called the Health S-Curve model. And using this model, I also wanted to share 5 potential reasons why you are or someone you know is still not better yet on the health and healing journey. There's also something else that this Health S-Curve model explains, which is why some people get better with almost little or no effort, while others have to work really hard for very little results. I've always been quite perplexed about this in observing clients, some getting almost better miraculously while others taking what seems forever. So I hope this model is a good explanation of that phenomena. I've also found that there's not much out there in terms of models or concepts in the experience that happens during the journey and the requirements to keep moving forward on the journey. The only real models that I've seen are out there for healing of trauma. So I've developed what I hope is a simple model explanation, especially in the case of ongoing physical health issues. So let's start here with the Health S-Curve. I adopted the S-Curve, which you may have seen before, to represent biological population growth that reaches stabilization or even being used as a project management tool. But I realize it's also a great representation of the health and healing journey. Most people think health is a linear relationship. You do something and you get results. The more you do, the better you become, which is not at all realistic. Others think that they just need to find that one session miracle cure and all their troubles will be over, which is also not realistic, because neither of these expectations consider what it really takes to get better. And sure, no model can be absolutely and perfectly represent reality, it's just a model, but the benefit is in how you use it. So let's go through this model. Here on the vertical axis, that's your level of health, your percent level of health, vitality, well-being. You could do this as a generality or hone in about like a specific health issue. But it's an indicator of where you are in the overall spectrum of health, which is at 0 being near death and 100% being complete, perfect, optimal health and vitality, which is, by the way, extremely difficult to achieve. It's not meant to be, this scale on the side here is not meant to be a subjective scale about how bad you feel. For example, you may be feeling a lot of pain but have no life-threatening health concern, so your health percentage would likely be much higher than someone who has, say, a silent disease of some sort, feeling no symptoms, but under the surface their health is traveling downhill very fast. So it's not about the percent level suffering, although on a side note, long-term suffering will start to impact on your overall vitality. But in this case, we're talking about percent level of health. And then down the bottom, here's the horizontal axis. So this represents your actions, past and present, that have supported you or are supporting you being at the corresponding percent of health and well-being that you might be at. It could be good habits, actions taken consistently and with determination, or even just out of the blue crazy luck. But the thing to note is this is your true action towards health. And that might be a bit vague, but remember, it's not just any old action, and we'll talk about this later. The amount that you move along this axis is based on actions that deal directly with the root cause of your health condition, or support your unique makeup and constitution. The biggest mistake people make is thinking that they need to try that modality or that health fad or see that person will heal them. While it's true that you have a better chance of healing with well-trained practitioners, your defenses are less on guard with healers that you trust, and some modalities are more suited to you than others. But it's really all about the key healing pieces that you require to get better at this point of time and whatever circumstances that you're in. Of course, it'd be nice to tell you exactly what those actions and habits and healing treatments are, but honestly, that's unique to the individual. And I personally use intuition for this to customize a health or healing plan, because I know that if you hone your skills and intuition, you can cut to the chase, you can bypass the confusion, reduce trial and error, and save yourself a whole bunch of wasted time. Anyway, so one thing you might notice from this chart or model is that there are two clear paradigms or experiences on the graph, and this is generally well and generally unwell. And the border between each of these paradigms occurs at approximately 50%. And so remember that the axis is actual health. And so, you might find that medication temporarily alleviates your symptoms. So you might be feeling more well than you really are. But it's a false equilibrium that's rather than being necessarily moving up the health curve. And that's the difference between actual and subjective reality. So if you take away the Band-Aid, and that's your true baseline. And as another side note, I'm not saying that medication is bad or useless. It actually could be preventing you from dropping further down the curve. But this is more just to highlight again that what you feel and experience is not a true indicator of your overall percent level of health necessarily. So the general takeaway from these two paradigms is that there's little graduated change noticeable as you move up the curve, except around the 50%. In fact, you might hardly notice that you've moved forward unless you've developed your intuition or intuitive connection to your body. And what normally happens for most people is that they're taking action, like they're at the bottom part of the curve, they're taking action, nothing's happening, nothing much is happening, nothing, and then suddenly, boom, there's this major resolve of healing out of the blue. And I'm proposing that the biggest noticeable point of change is around the 50% line. And I've had these experiences myself. I remember waking up one day and realizing I'm well now after months and months of treatment. And it kind of felt like I'd shifted into a different paradigm. And it may have been gradually happening under the surface, but it wasn't something that I was particularly conscious and aware of until I'd moved into the other paradigm. Anyway, so on the line of the S-curve, 0 is near death, which is pretty unusual circumstance to have fallen down that far. And then 100% is perfect health. It's difficult and next to impossible to achieve. And so, as a side note again, some people wreck themselves trying to get here, but note how the curve never reaches 100%. It flatlines. And so you're basically wasting your time trying to be absolutely perfect, and it's a good thing to take into account. So, but at the 50%, this is what I call the miraculous tipping point. Well, that's my theory anyway. And the reason why some people have 1 or 2 sessions and then suddenly have a drastic change, as if it was a miracle, that massive transformation, usually I believe we're on the crux of moving over that 50% line, and it only takes that small true action to tip them over onto the other side of the health paradigm. Sometimes a healing can seem like a miracle because of that, but that's not, being at that 50% is not where you want to be. Where you actually want to be is the best return of investment is around 60 to 80%. And you feel good generally, and the amount of effort to maintain this level of health with your health actions is very sustainable. But then down at the 15 to 40%, these are the people who are wondering why it's taking so long to get better. And when they do take action, it produces very little results. In fact, it takes more action to move along that curve in that down at the 15 to 40% than it does up at the 60 to 80% where it's the best health return of investment. And even if you do start inching along, it's because it feels like it because they're deep in the paradigm of generally unwell, and they won't experience or notice any great change like they would if they were up near the 50%. Alright, so to summarize, this model shows that it's maintaining your health habits in the present. It's about maintaining your health habits in the present, combined with the culmination of all your true actions from the past, and good constitution helps as well. And all that keeps you from falling down on the curve. If you find yourself down on the bottom end of the curve, then you do also need key healing actions that are unique to you and your situation to help you get better and move you back up the curve. You need more oomph to move up the curve. But once you're up at the ideal level, around that best health return of investment, it's easiest to sustain yourself, and the health actions are less strenuous on you. All right, so let me share now 5 reasons why you or someone you know isn't getting better yet. If you're stuck feeling generally unwell and unsure why that is, it's probably one of these reasons. So first, reason 1, you're just not really doing anything about it. It's hard to swallow sometimes, but just wishing and hoping or even visualizing without backing it up with some form of action, especially true action, is usually going to end in this result of nothing happening. That was pretty self-explanatory. So reason 2 is you are doing something, but it's not true action. And there are many potential actions that you could take for your health, but it needs to be action that's relevant to your unique situation. In other words, it has to deal with the true root cause on some level, or deal with what I call subroots, which are layers from that form from the root cause itself. An example of this is someone being vigilant with things that they react to, like foods they're intolerant or allergic to, for example. And while they stay in the status quo and avoid getting worse by eliminating foods and being vigilant about foods, nothing fundamentally will actually change, because perhaps the immune system is not at the root cause. It was never the problem in the first place, and it's just a subroot of the overall health issue. And so by taking true action, such as dealing with dehydration issues, mineral balance, emotional stress, for example, for a particular person, the health could be improved and the food allergies reduced, rather than just spending all their energy on being hypervigilant. And this is a personal story, by the way. So that's the reason number 2, which is you're not taking the action that will truly make you better. So number 3 is you're making it worse with things that you're doing. So in this case, you can see the arrows going down towards 0. You're actually proactively doing something that's making it worse. So several years back, I did a review of my medical intuition case studies, and about 20% of my medical intuition readings showed that the client was actually doing something to exacerbate their health condition, making it worse than it actually needed to be. This could be harsh herbs, it could be excessive stress from exercise, eating foods that were not good for their condition, etc. But what I found was that most of them had no idea the impact that this was having on their health, and some thought they were actually doing the right things by themselves. So they couldn't work out why they weren't getting better yet, but it was actually that they were proactively making it worse themselves. That's reason 3. Reason 4. So you're doing things the long way. Reason 4 is you're doing things the long way. So you're doing something, but you're doing something that's actually more like baby steps than strides towards health. The action you're taking is somewhat related to the root cause, but indirectly. It's dealing with the real issue. It's not dealing with the real issue directly, or even you're resisting or tempering down the actions for whatever personal reason. And let's use a structural issue as an example for this case. So someone has a back issue that mysteriously occurred one morning, no clear injury, just occurred as it bent down to pick up the orange juice, and the root cause is actually emotionally based, because something's been happening at work, not feeling supported, etc. And this is actually a true case, by the way. And the emotions created the stress affected the nervous system, and then also affected the muscles in the back, which pulls the back out, pulls the vertebrae out of alignment and pinches a nerve. And so a slower approach would be to go see a chiropractor or physiotherapist without any emotional work. And just seeing a chiropractor or physiotherapist in this case, it could possibly help because things are happening physically on the body, but the back would still be reacting to this unconscious emotional stress that's still parked somewhere in the body until the emotions are dealt with. In this case, different to an injury, a physical injury type back problem, this one occurred out of the blue. So, and it in this case was related to work, emotional stress. So, so the faster way to do things was to deal with the emotion directly. And there are fast ways to do things, and then there's the long ways to do things. So that's reason number 4, you're doing things a long way. Let's go to reason number 5, last reason. So this one is you're almost there, but just not yet. In this case, you're actually really, really close. And some people just aren't as bad as they think they are. And this is where it is important to start developing your own intuitive connection to your body to be able to sense whether something still needs to be worked on, or that actually things aren't as bad even though the symptoms are showing, and that develops over time. But this is about being really clear where you are in your level of health so that you can move forward effectively before you start to lose hope and give up too early on something that may be working but just needs that little bit more time. All right, so that's 5 reasons why you or someone you know still isn't better yet. And I hope this explanation and the general overview of the health SCurve has given some understanding of what the health and healing journey is really like, rather than the assumed linear approach that most people seem to have. I also hope that it's highlighted what's really required based on where you might actually be on the curve. Some people know themselves really well and are quite accurate in their assessment of where they are on the scale of percent level of health, and others just aren't. But I found that most haven't been accurate on the reason why they aren't better yet, which kind of makes sense because they would probably be better if they really understood the reason or see how they might be getting in their own way. So if you're unsure where you are on the scale, or you're unsure why you're stuck and not getting better yet, then I'm offering a free 30-minute intuitive health assessment. In the session, we'll discuss what current health issues are bothering you, and then I do a mini overall tune-in into what percentage you're on in the curve, the health SCurve, and why that is. Which of the 5 reasons is keeping you from moving into better health? We also work out where you would rather be on the curve and a single health action for you to take to start moving up towards that, so you can potentially enjoy better health, vitality, be able to do more things that your soul would love to fulfill in this lifetime. And so if there's any further offers that I have that I feel might benefit your case, then I'll let you know those as well. So if you'd like to book in, you should find a link below in the description or comments. Alternatively, you can email me at invoke.spirit@gmail.com if you have any further queries. So thanks so much for listening. I hope this has been of value to you. This is Leah from Invoke Spirit, wishing you the very best of health. Bye.